Good morning, Stick Marsh. Nice, beautiful sunrise. The little glow around the sun is only a small hint of the fiery bass fishing to come. Here on the 1st of April, first thing in the morning, David has a hold of his first bass. He hooked it on a broken back bango lure he pulled out of his tackle box. Old antique lure, a lot of you guys would like that. There's that bass, and here we're going to show it again. David's first bass. They were shallow. They were spawning. You could see the beds when you drifted over them, but you could not see the bass on the bed. They were hanging around eelgrass. The fish were about a foot and a half deep. David did real good. Here's a large Bass Pro Stop Sticko that this nice bass inhaled. And like I said, we were fishing around the eelgrass in the south end of the farm. Here's a picture of the topped out eelgrass. In April, the bass fishing at Stick Marsh Farm 13 has been on fire. At one point, David and I both hooked one. We had a double. I'm claiming I caught the one in his right hand. He's claiming he caught the one in his right hand. Picture's got him with it, so I guess he gets to keep the claim. There's another nice bass that David caught. I'm telling you, the bass fishing at Stick Marsh Farm 13 is on fire. There's been hardly anybody fishing. Nice, big, monster bass being caught on a consistent basis. We'd love for you to come. We'd love for you to be the next one to catch a monster bass. Here's another giant. I mean, they just keep coming. They just keep a-coming, keep a-coming. And here's a picture of your guide coming up next with what looks like not such a large bass, but when you know how big the guide is, then you know it's a good-sized bass. Fishing out of a Bass Cat Jaguar DC. You can see the south end of the farm. We're in real shallow water. Hugh Crumpler's Florida Trophy Pro Bass Fishing. www.hugh-crumpler.com. This is Gary Clark. Gary Clark, you may not recognize him, but he did the first fishing show ever was done with Jerry McInnes. Gary Clark did it with Jerry McInnes. Gary caught another nice bass this day. Again, we're in the same area fishing that topped out eelgrass. I was fortunate enough to get a real nice bass that day. As you can see, we were fishing those big Bass Pro Shop Stickos. As the month of April progressed on, I had opportunity to go to Alligator Lake for a half day, and here's Denny with a nice bass that he brung in, which just literally tore up a scum frog. Just ate a scum frog all up. Now, you can see out here that there's no boats. That's the way it was at the beginning of April, but the word is spreading. They're catching fish out in the middle of that stuff right now on rattle traps. It's all trees underwater. Here's a mother osprey protecting her eggs, keeping them warm. This is an excellent place to see Mother Nature and what Mother Nature does. Here's the north end of Stick Marsh, and you'll see some lily pads out there. This is a beautiful fishery, and the bass fishing is on fire. I went out on a windy day, threw a buzzbait just per chance, and the big bass literally went crazy. I still think if I'd had somebody with me who was a little weak in the kidneys, they'd have wet their pants. This is another bass that hit a different buzzbait. I only took 2 pictures of the bass. I caught one of each of these 2 you just saw. Now here's a picture of the buzzbait and what they did to it. They broke the blade. They ate all the skirt off. They just literally destroyed this thing. That's why I had to go to a different buzzbait. And back behind me, this is what the water looked like that day. Don't be afraid to go out there on the farm or the stick when it's a little bit windy. You're going to catch you some nice fish. This is Evan, his first bass, his only bass. The guy from Brooklyn, we had to teach him how to cast. We had to teach him how to get into a boat. The boy done, he's root now. And here's Luke, who brought Evan. Luke was one of his nice bass. We found that they were biting chug bugs. This is later in the month, and we found them biting chug bugs. This is one of 3 fishermen I had out. Caught a fish on a shiner. We were doing a guide trip in conjunction with one castaway. This is this man from Illinois, his largest bass ever, but he couldn't just stand it that this was his largest. He had to go and catch another one. He caught this nice one, about 7 pounds, maybe 6 3/4, 7 pounds, something like that, on a wild shiner. Man from Illinois. Then towards the end of the month, again, a couple of days later, I went out with Gary again. We caught 30. Gary managed to get a picture of me with one of the ones I caught. Now, I caught some bigger and I caught some smaller, but we caught a lot about this size. We had 30 bass. Hugh Crumpler, Florida Trophy Pro Bass Fishing. www.hugh-crumpler.com. World's Best Bass Catching. Hugh Crumpler III at gmail.com. 321-626-6174. You gotta come.